Look around your living room right now. If you're over 65 or your parents are, that house isn't just a collection of family memories. It's your financial fortress. It's the ultimate legacy you plan to leave behind. But what if I told you it's actually a ticking time bomb? Right the second, as you sit there feeling totally secure, there is a highly automated financial trap waiting for you. And the craziest part? You'll probably trigger it yourself. Let me explain exactly how you might destroy your own wealth. The absolute most dangerous thing an aging American can do is listen to casual dinner table advice. You've definitely heard your uncle or a well-meaning neighbor say it. Just sign the house over to the kids now before the nursing home takes it. It sounds super logical, right? Beat the government to the punch. Slip the deed to your son, walk away clean, and protect the family asset. But here's the terrifying reality nobody warned you about. In the world of asset protection, doing a quick, cheap deed transfer is an absolute death sentence for your retirement. Because the moment you sign that piece of paper, you aren't outsmarting anyone. You're walking straight into a brutal cross-agency bear trap. See, most people think the American eldercare and tax systems are just a bunch of disconnected, slow-moving bureaucracies. They picture giant rooms full of dusty file cabinets. Wake up, because that system doesn't exist anymore. The IRS, Medicare, and the Social Security Administration are now a deeply integrated algorithmic network. They are all staring at the exact same data, and when you transfer that property incorrectly, you trigger a silent, automated domino effect. This glitch will literally strip away your healthcare, freeze your liquid cash, and drain your hard-earned retirement accounts in a matter of months. I'm talking specifically about Title 42 of the U.S. Code. Ever heard of the Medicaid 5-year look-back rule? Federal law gives the government the right to aggressively audit every single financial transaction, bank account, and property transfer you've made over the last 60 months. And trust me, they do not miss a single trick. If you transfer your house for less than fair market value, even if you sell it to your daughter for symbolic $1, the system doesn't see a sweet family gift. The system flags it as an uncompensated transfer. And an uncompensated transfer doesn't just block you from getting Medicaid. It triggers a legally mandated freeze called a penalty period. The state flat out refuses to pay for your long-term care, leaving your family to foot a massive, devastating bill. We are talking about forcing your kids to pay out of pocket at a rate of $10,000 to $15,000 every single month. But getting disqualified from Medicaid is just the tip of the iceberg, because we are just getting to the truly scary part. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to expose exactly how one innocent real estate transfer will instantly skyrocket your Medicare premiums and let the IRS aggressively tax your Social Security checks. You cannot afford to skip a single second of this. If you or your parents are anywhere near retirement age, grab a pen and pay very close attention. The rules of the game have fundamentally changed, and ignorance is about to become your most expensive mistake. To understand how this trap operates in the real world, let me introduce you to the anatomy of a quiet financial tragedy. We're going to look at the story of a woman named Eleanor, and her story might sound uncomfortably familiar to you. Eleanor is 72 years old. She spent over 35 years working as a dedicated head nurse in a suburban hospital. Her husband passed away 5 years ago, leaving her widowed but financially stable. By all conventional measures, she played the game perfectly. Her life savings are modest but rock solid. She owns her home completely free and clear, and it's valued right around $700,000. Plus, she's got a traditional 401k sitting at $300,000. But that $700,000 house is about to ruin her. Her daily expenses are totally covered by a modest $2,500 monthly Social Security check. She paid off her mortgage, saved diligently, and entered her golden years with total peace of mind. Until she attended a casual neighborhood barbecue one weekend. At this party, a neighbor tells her a total horror story about a local guy whose entire house got seized by the state to pay for his nursing home care. It's called the Medicaid Estate Recovery Program, and it's ruthless. Absolute panic sets in. Eleanor decides she has to protect her $700,000 home at all costs. She is determined to make sure her son inherits the house, no matter what it takes. So she makes the biggest mistake of her entire life. Instead of hiring an experienced elder law attorney, Eleanor goes the DIY route. She hops online, prints out a standard off-the-shelf quitclaim deed, and signs the entire property over to her son. She transfers a $700,000 asset for exactly $0. She doesn't even move out. She stays right there in the living room pouring a cup of coffee, fully believing she just pulled off the ultimate asset protection strategy. She thinks she's untouchable, but she's completely exposed. For the first few months, nothing happens. The world keeps spinning. But behind the scenes, the county recorder's office updates its database, and that innocent property deed transfer is instantly digitized, and it gets immediately shared with the federal government. Exactly 12 months later, Eleanor walks out to her mailbox and pulls out a letter. It isn't from Medicaid. It's an official notice from the Social Security Administration. What she reads next makes her blood run cold. The letter casually informs her that her Medicare Part B premium, which used to be a very manageable $185 a month, has suddenly been adjusted. Starting next month, her new premium is over $600. And it doesn't stop there. Her Medicare Part D prescription drug premium has also been hit with a massive, totally unexpected surcharge. She is completely blindsided by the government. She's now staring down a brand new medical bill. We're talking about nearly $1,000 every single month, just for basic coverage. With her fixed Social Security check of $2,500, her liquid cash flow is instantly shattered. And she has absolutely no idea how it happened. Eleanor didn't commit a crime. She didn't try to cheat the system or hide money in an offshore bank account. She literally just printed out a free legal form from the internet. And that one piece of paper dismantled her retirement. Desperate to pay these aggressive new premiums and keep her head above water, Eleanor is forced into a corner. She does what any terrified senior would do to survive. She turns to her 401k for an emergency bailout. She thinks grabbing some extra cash will fix the problem. But what she doesn't realize is that she just pulled the pin on a massive tax grenade. And the IRS is about to knock on her door. How did this happen? To protect yourself, you've got to look beneath the surface and see the exact legal mechanics that wrecked Eleanor's finances. It all starts with the interaction between real estate law and a hidden surcharge system. It's called IRMAA, and it's an absolute wealth killer. When Eleanor signed that quitclaim deed and handed her home over to her son, she thought she was just giving him a nice family gift. But let me be real with you, the IRS doesn't care about your feelings. They view the world through a radically different lens. In the eyes of federal tax law, when you hand an asset to someone without getting fair market value back, you haven't made a sweet gesture. You've just executed a highly taxable event. And this brings us to Internal Revenue Code section 121. Normally, you get to exclude up to $250,000 of capital gains when you sell your primary residence. It's a massive tax break, but it comes with a massive catch. You have to actually own and live in that house. When Eleanor gifted the home directly to her kid, she instantly blew up that tax exclusion. Because it was a raw transfer, the IRS looks at the original price she paid decades ago, maybe $100,000. But now the house is worth $700,000. That means there is $600,000 of untaxed embedded capital gains baked into that property. By signing that deed, all that phantom profit gets yanked straight into her tax profile, and it brutally spikes what's called her MAGI. That's your modified adjusted gross income. And this is exactly where the ultimate hidden trap springs shut on unsuspecting seniors. It triggers an aggressive Medicare surcharge known as the Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount, or IRMAA, if you want to sound like an insider. Here's the crazy part. Medicare is not some flat fee service. If your income crosses a specific threshold, usually around $103,000 for a single person, the government legally forces you to pay up, and they slap an aggressive premium surcharge right on top. When Eleanor's property transfer hit the government databases, her MAGI didn't just show her little $25,000 Social Security check. It showed hundreds of thousands of dollars of phantom capital value. And the IRMAA system is not a gentle slope. It is a sheer, terrifying cliff. If you cross that MAGI threshold by even one single dollar, you're instantly thrown into the highest premium bracket available. Boom. Her Medicare Part B premiums instantly surged 300%. When Eleanor figured this out, she panicked and tried to fight the government. She went online and downloaded the FEHE official Medicare Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount Life-Changing Event Form. It's called Form SSA 44, and it's a total trap. This form is supposed to let seniors reduce their IRMAA surcharges if their income drops due to approved life events, things like marriage, divorce, or losing your pension. But guess what is completely missing? Gifting a house to your kids to beat Medicaid. Real estate transfers for asset protection are totally barred from relief. The Social Security Administration took one look at her appeal, saw it was a deed transfer, and instantly threw it in the trash. Her massive new premiums were officially locked in permanently. The first domino had completely crushed her cash flow. She is bleeding money every single month just to keep her health insurance active, and the worst part is yet to come because now she is forced to raid her own retirement accounts. Once your cash flow gets wrecked by the IRMAA cliff, the system naturally forces you into a corner looking for liquidity. You need cash fast just to survive the new bills. And this is where the second domino drops hard. Faced with a massive premium bill every single month, Eleanor looked at her options. She didn't want to sell her personal belongings, so she turned to her traditional 401k account. She decided to pull out $50,000. She figured this cash cushion would keep her afloat for the next couple of years. But this is exactly where the trap snaps shut on her retirement funds. Let me introduce you to the Secure Act 2.0. Under the law, traditional 401ks and IRR are funded with pre-tax dollars. When Eleanor made that voluntary $50,000 withdrawal to pay her forced Medicare bills, the IRS pounced. They instantly classified that money as ordinary income. Unlike capital gains, which have capped tax rates, ordinary income is taxed at your highest marginal rate. that 50 grand stacked right on top of her baseline profile, pushing her straight into a brutal new tax bracket. But the income tax hit is literally the least of her worries right now. It's how this extraordinary income triggers Internal Revenue Code Section 86 that destroys everything. This is the law that taxes your Social Security. Most middle-class Americans falsely believe their Social Security checks are completely tax-free once they finally retire. I hate to break it to you, but that's a dangerous myth. The government uses a sneaky formula called provisional income. They calculate this by taking your adjusted gross income, adding any tax-exempt interest, and then tossing in exactly 50% of your annual Social Security benefits into the mix. And these thresholds haven't been updated in decades. If you're single and your provisional income crosses the ultimate threshold of $34,000, the trap springs. Up to 85% of your Social Security becomes taxable. Let's look at Eleanor's absolutely heartbreaking mathematical reality. Her base income was low, but the moment she pulled that 50 grand from her 401k to pay her health care, her provisional income blasted past that $34,000 limit. The IRS instantly recalculated her entire retirement profile. 85% of her monthly $2,500 Social Security check was now treated as fully taxable ordinary income. The government began withholding taxes directly from her deposits. Think about the sheer cruelty of this vicious cycle. She transferred her home to save it. That transfer triggered a massive IRMAA penalty, driving up healthcare costs. To pay those bills, she drained her retirement savings, which gave the IRS the green light to tax her Social Security. She's now paying way more for healthcare, paying higher income taxes, and getting significantly less net cash from her government checks. Her assets are in a rapid systemic hemorrhage, all because she signed one generic piece of paper. If you are watching this right now and feeling a wave of overwhelming anxiety, take a deep breath. I'm not just here to scare you with the problem. I'm here to give you the exact institutional grade fix. The wealthiest families in America use highly specific, bulletproof strategies to completely bypass this trap, and you can too. You can protect your home from long-term care costs without triggering IRMAA or letting the IRS touch your Social Security. But to do this, you have to throw away those cheap, generic, internet legal forms forever. Instead, your absolute most powerful weapon is creating something highly specific. It's called an Irrevocable Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, or MAPT. Instead of handing the house directly to your kids, you establish an MAPT, name an independent trustee to manage it, and transfer the home's title directly into the trust. This one legal move completely flips the game in your favor. Because the property goes to a trust and not a person, Internal Revenue Code Section 1014 stays fully active. This is the absolute holy grail of estate planning. It's called the step up in basis, and it's pure magic. When you pass away, your kids don't inherit your original low purchase price from decades ago. Their tax basis legally steps up to the fair market value on the exact date of your death, meaning if they sell it, their capital gains tax is exactly 0. And because it's not an outright gift to an individual, your MAGI stays totally flat. You completely bypass the IRMAA cliff, your Medicare premiums stay baseline, and your Social Security's untouched. Plus, after 60 months, the house is completely invisible to Medicaid. Now, if an MAPT is too expensive or complex for your current financial setup, there's a second viable option. You can execute what's called a deed, creating a life estate. This lets you transfer future ownership while legally keeping total control. You maintain the absolute right to live in the property for the rest of your natural life. Federal Medicaid guidelines treat a life estate way better than a raw gift. It keeps your tax exclusions intact and dodges the premium trap entirely. But no matter which tool you use, you absolutely must follow the Ironclad sequence of execution. Step 1 happens before a single deed is ever signed or stamped. You have to file IRS Form 709, the United States gift tax return. This officially logs the transfer against your lifetime exemption, ensuring you don't owe any out-of-pocket federal gift taxes right now. Step 2 requires you to coordinate closely with a CPA. You need to artificially manufacture a low-income year. You must stagger your 401k withdrawals over multiple years to keep your provisional income strictly below that dangerous $34,000 threshold before changing your real estate portfolio. Look, the American retirement system isn't designed to be fair. It is a highly efficient, automated machine built to offset the massive financial liabilities of an aging population. It heavily penalizes people who rely on self-taught, casual advice. Do not fund the government's balance sheet with your family's inheritance. Right now, millions of seniors across the country are preparing to sign cheap deeds, completely unaware that they are about to pull the pin on their own retirement accounts. You have the power to stop this from happening to them. Take this information and share this video with every friend, family member, and colleague who is over 60 or has aging parents. You could literally save their entire legacy. If you want more uncompromising, hardcore financial breakdowns, subscribe right now. Drop a comment below with your specific asset protection questions. We read every single one. Stay vigilant, protect your money with precision, and I'll see you in the next deep dive.